Have you ever wondered if your specific person, your soulmate, the one who perfectly complements you, could come into your life as if by magic? Have you felt that deep yearning within, the belief that it's meant to be? What if I told you that the moment you truly believe it, feel it, and imagine it as already done, that's when they will come? Not tomorrow, not next week, but right now. Now, let me share with you the secret to this. It's the Rampage technique, a powerful method where you, through the power of your imagination, will create the conditions for your specific person to appear, and they will come, just as surely as you see them in your mind's eye. I recall a moment in my own life, before the life I now lead, when I desperately wanted to bring a particular person into my experience. I could not at that time comprehend the power within me to cause my own desires to manifest. I was like so many others, struggling to understand that the key was not in the outer world, but rather within my own consciousness. But one day something clicked. I remembered what was written in the scriptures. Whatsoever ye desire when ye pray, believe that ye receive it, and ye shall have it. And I thought, what if I believed, truly believed, not only that I could manifest this specific person, but that I was already living the life we would share? I knew I had to change my internal state. I could no longer wait for the world outside to change before I could feel the joy of having this person in my life. So I began my rampage. I took a few minutes each day to enter my mind's eye and see this person already in my life, seeing them by my side, hearing their voice, feeling the love between us. And I didn't just imagine it passively. No, I assumed the state of it being true, as if it had already come to pass. I lived in the end of my desire. It wasn't long before the world outside began to shift. This person appeared in my life exactly as I had imagined them, just as I had assumed they would. There was no struggle, no force, no effort, just the belief that it was already done. Now, this technique, which I call a rampage because it requires a powerful, persistent, and unshakable belief in your desired outcome, can bring your specific person into your reality. When you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, your entire world will bend to match it. Live as though your desire is already fulfilled, and you will attract it effortlessly into your life. Through repetition and focused imagination, reinforce the assumption that your specific person is already in your reality. Imagination is not just a fantasy tool, it's the very fabric of your external world. Feel the emotions, the joy, the connection, as though you are already with your person. Let go of the when and trust that the universe will unfold your desire at the perfect time. Doubt is the enemy of manifestation. Keep your mind focused on the end result, not the obstacles. Once you have imagined it, leave it to the creative forces within you to bring it into the physical world. Trust in the unseen. You see, everything begins with assumption. There is a fundamental law that governs the way the world works, and it is the law of assumption. This law is incredibly simple yet profoundly powerful. It states that what you assume to be true in your life, what you assume to be real, will eventually harden into fact. You are the creator of your own reality, and it is through the assumption of the end result that you bring your desires into manifestation. Imagine for a moment that you have already received everything you desire. How would you feel? What would your world look like? How would you walk, speak, or think? Now imagine that the very feeling you experience in that moment, when you feel your desires already fulfilled, is the state you must live in. It is not enough to simply wish or hope for something to happen. You must live as though it is already true, as though the thing you desire is already in your hands, already in your life. You must live from the assumption that it is already so. The power of assumption is rooted in the idea that you do not need to wait for external conditions to change in order to experience your desires. In fact, external conditions are mere reflections of your inner state. They are not the cause of your experience, but the effect. The true cause lies within you. the assumptions, the beliefs, and the states of consciousness you choose to live from. The moment you assume a state of fulfillment, the moment you assume that your desire is already here, the world begins to shift in response to that assumption. When you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you are not simply hoping for it to come into being. You are stepping into a state of mind where it already exists. You are embodying the reality of your desire. This is not about thinking positive thoughts or simply wishing for something. It is about living as though it has already happened. You must feel the emotions of having it now. The more you align with the assumption of your wish fulfilled, the more you are attracting it to you. Let me give you an example. Imagine that you desire to be in a loving relationship with a specific person. You may find yourself in a situation where it seems impossible or where circumstances do not align with your desire. But the truth is, the only reason you are not experiencing that relationship is because you are not fully assuming the state of already being in it. If you allow your mind to focus on the lack, on the absence of that person in your life, then you are simply reinforcing that absence. You are holding a mental image of something that isn't there, and the world outside will reflect that back to you. But if instead you begin to assume the feeling of being with that person, of being loved and cherished by them, then you are aligning yourself with the reality you want to create. You must let go of the doubt, the hesitation, and the disbelief. You must surrender to the feeling of it already being true. In your imagination, see yourself already living with this person. Hear their voice. Feel their presence. Let that assumption fill you and allow it to permeate your entire being. You must step into this assumed reality and live from it, even if the external world hasn't caught up with you yet. Assumption works because it is the natural law of creation. Everything in your life has been created by the assumptions you have held, whether you are aware of them or not. Your circumstances are a direct reflection of your assumptions about yourself, others, and the world around you. If you are not seeing the results you desire, it is because your assumptions are not in harmony with those results. You must begin to assume the outcome you wish to see, no matter how impossible or unlikely it may appear. But here's the key. It doesn't matter how long it takes for the external world to reflect your assumptions. The moment you assume the end result, it is already done. The creative power of your mind goes to work immediately to bring that assumption into reality. The more you persist in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, the more quickly and clearly it will manifest in your experience. Assumption is not a one-time act, but a continuous state of mind. It is something you must live and breathe every single day. You cannot assume once and then return to a state of doubt or fear. You must persist in the assumption, no matter what the world tells you. If the circumstances are not yet in alignment with your assumption, do not be swayed. Remain firm in the belief that your desire is already fulfilled. Let your internal state be unshakable. This is the key to creating the life you desire. It is not about trying to manipulate external forces or forcing things to happen. It is about shifting your internal reality to match the desired outcome. Once your internal world is in harmony with your desire, the external world must follow suit. Your assumptions create your reality. What you assume to be true will eventually be made manifest in your life. The law of assumption works because it taps into the deepest laws of the universe. It is the law that governs creation itself. You, as a conscious being, have the power to direct this creative energy through your assumptions. The moment you decide to assume that your desire is already fulfilled, you are aligning with the creative forces of the universe, and they will go to work on your behalf. In the end, the only thing that matters is your assumption. If you believe that your specific person will come, they will. If you believe that you are worthy of love and happiness, you will experience it. Your assumption is the key to everything. It is the creative force that shapes your world. And when you choose to live from that assumption, you will see your desires unfold before your eyes. To truly understand the power of living in the end, we must first grasp what it means to live from the assumption of the wish fulfilled. This is not merely a mental exercise or a passing thought, but a state of being, a way of living that aligns your internal world with the external reality you wish to experience. The key to manifestation lies in this simple yet profound truth. Your external world is a reflection of your internal state. Therefore, to manifest your desires, you must first embody the end result, not as a future event, but as something that has already occurred. You must live in the end, not wait for it to arrive. When you live in the end, you no longer focus on the lack or absence of what you desire. You do not beg or plead for it to come. You assume that it is already yours, right here, right now. This assumption is not just a fleeting thought or wish. It is a deep, unwavering belief that your desire has already been fulfilled. Your entire mental and emotional state must reflect the fact that it is done. You must feel it, see it, and experience it within the realm of your imagination as though it were already your present reality. When you make this shift and start living in the end, you change your vibration, your energy, and your perception of the world. You stop reacting to the outer world and start creating it. It is the assumption of the end result that allows your desire to materialize. For when you live as though your desire has already been fulfilled, the universe has no choice but to align itself with your inner state. The reality you experience must mirror your inner assumptions. Now, this does not mean that you live in a state of fantasy or wishful thinking. It means that you must create a vivid, compelling image of your desire being fulfilled and then immerse yourself in that feeling. The key is to embody the end result with every fiber of your being. You must carry that feeling with you as though it is already done and allow it to color everything you do. The more you persist in this assumption, the more the outer world will rearrange itself to reflect your inner reality. This is the natural law of creation. What you believe to be true is true for you. Living in the end also requires a deep sense of detachment from the how and when. Often, when we desire something, we become fixated on how it will happen, when it will happen, and whether it is even possible. This kind of thinking only creates doubt and resistance. When you live in the end, you let go of the need to know how it will come to pass. You simply know that it will, because you are living in the assumption that it is already done. This is the foundation of faith, the unwavering belief that what you have assumed is already yours, and that the universe will unfold in perfect harmony to bring it into your experience. The moment you live in the end, you stop looking for external evidence to validate your desire. You stop asking, why hasn't it happened yet? Or why am I not seeing signs? Instead, you trust that the assumption itself is the catalyst for the manifestation. This shift in mindset is crucial. The longer you wait for external evidence, the longer it will take for your desires to materialize. But when you live in the end, you trust that the world will reflect your inner state. You no longer need proof because you already feel the reality of your desire. You know it is coming. Living in the end also means that you do not let the present moment dictate your reality. The present moment, with all its seeming limitations, is simply a reflection of your past assumptions. It is not the end of your story, but merely a snapshot of where you have been. The end, the true end, is where you see your desires as already fulfilled. The present moment is malleable and can be shaped by the power of your assumptions. Therefore, you must step beyond the present moment and live in the assumption of the end. You must envision yourself already having what you desire, feeling as if it has already been realized, and carrying that feeling with you into the world. For instance, if your desire is to be in a loving relationship with a specific person, you must live as if that relationship is already a reality. You must assume the feeling of being loved and cherished by that person, just as you would if they were already in your life. You see them with you, experiencing the joy of that connection, feeling the warmth of their presence, and allowing those feelings to fill every part of you. This is living in the end. You do not wait for them to show up in your life first. You assume that they already are there, and you experience the joy of that assumption. By doing this, you align your energy with the energy of your desire. You send out a signal to the universe that you are already in possession of what you want, and the universe in turn begins to rearrange itself to match that assumption. You are not forcing or striving, you are simply living from the knowing that your desire is already realized. You live in the end, not in the longing or wanting, but in the assumption that it is already done. The more you live in the end, the more your assumptions will manifest in your experience. The universe responds to your inner state, and when you live in the assumption of your wish fulfilled, you are drawing your desire closer to you. The key is persistence. You must continue living in the end, no matter what the current circumstances say. The present moment is just a reflection of your past thoughts and assumptions. It does not dictate what is to come. Your assumptions, when held with conviction and consistency, are the forces that will shape your future. Therefore, when you live in the end, you are actively participating in the creation of your reality. You are not waiting for something outside of you to change first. Instead, you are changing yourself, and in doing so, you change the world around you. Living in the end is the most powerful and effective way to manifest your desires, for it aligns your internal state with the external reality you wish to create. And when you live from that place, the universe has no choice but to reflect your assumption back to you, bringing your desires into being. When you begin the journey of manifestation, it is essential to understand the concept of persistence in belief. This persistence is not about forcing or exerting effort in the physical sense, but it is about maintaining a firm, unwavering belief in the truth of your desire, even when the external world seems to suggest otherwise. It is the continued assumption of the fulfillment of your desire, even when everything around you may appear to contradict that assumption. This is the true power behind manifestation. It is a continual, unshakable commitment to the feeling of the wish fulfilled. You see, belief is not a fleeting thought or a casual wish. It is not something that comes and goes depending on circumstances. Belief is a state of mind, a state of being, and it must be persistent if you are to see your desires materialize in your life. The world around you is nothing more than a reflection of your internal state. And if your state of mind is one of doubt or uncertainty, the reflection you receive will mirror that doubt. But when you hold a persistent belief, when you continue to live in the assumption that your desire is already fulfilled, the outer world must eventually conform to this belief. Persistence is what allows the law of assumption to work. The assumption is not a one-time event. It is not something you simply think about for a few moments and then forget. To truly manifest, you must persist in the assumption that what you desire is already done, even if you cannot see any evidence of it yet. In fact, the absence of evidence should not cause you to waver in your belief. The more persistent you are in maintaining your assumption, the quicker and more firmly the universe will respond. Your outer reality is a direct reflection of your inner state. And when you continue to persist in your assumption, it must eventually be made manifest in the physical world. This persistence, this unwavering belief, is what transforms your mental image into reality. Your desires are not dependent on the world outside you. They are dependent on your internal assumptions and the persistence with which you hold them. When you persist in the belief that your specific desire is already fulfilled, you create a mental environment where that desire can grow and eventually manifest. The longer you hold the belief, the stronger it becomes, and the more aligned your outer world becomes with that belief. It is important to recognize that persistence is not about struggling or forcing things to happen. It is about remaining constant in your belief and assuming that the end result is already yours. There is no need to question, doubt, or wonder when it will come. The moment you make the assumption, it is already done. The universe responds immediately to the assumption, even though it may take time for the physical evidence to catch up. You must trust in the process and remain persistent in your belief, knowing that your inner world creates the outer world. A key aspect of this persistence is the ability to disregard the current conditions. When you are living in the assumption of your desire being fulfilled, the current circumstances, whether they seem favorable or not, do not matter. They are merely temporary reflections of past thoughts and beliefs. They have no power over you unless you allow them to influence your thinking. This is where the true power of persistence comes in. You must continue to persist in your assumption, regardless of what the current circumstances may appear to be. It is only when you allow the circumstances to dictate your thoughts that you weaken your assumption and delay the manifestation of your desire. For example, let us say you desire to manifest a specific person into your life. Perhaps they are not yet showing any interest, or perhaps they seem distant or unavailable. The temptation might be to give up or assume that it will never happen. But this is where persistence is key. If you continue to assume that this person is already in your life, living and interacting with you as if it is already so, you are training your mind to focus on the end result, not the current circumstance. The more you persist in that assumption, the more the external world must conform to it. It does not matter what is happening right now. What matters is your belief in the end result. And if you persist in that belief, the circumstances must change to reflect it. Persistence is also about being patient with yourself and the process. Manifestation is not an instant event in the sense that it happens the moment you think of it. The moment you make the assumption, the seed is planted and it begins to grow. But just like any seed, it takes time for it to sprout and blossom. This does not mean that it is not happening. It means that the process is unfolding. Your persistence in belief is what nourishes that seed and allows it to grow into a fully realized manifestation. The more you persist, the quicker the seed grows, and the more quickly you will begin to see the external evidence of your desire. It is also important to recognize that persistence does not require you to force or struggle. You do not have to exert mental effort in a strenuous way. Instead, persistence is about staying true to your assumption, holding it in your mind and your heart, and continuing to live in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. As you continue to persist, the assumption becomes easier and more natural until you no longer need to consciously work at it. It becomes a part of your being, a state of mind that you occupy effortlessly. And when that happens, the manifestation follows. Persistence is a form of faith. It is the faith that your assumption will become your reality, regardless of what you see in the moment. It is the trust that the law of assumption is always at work, and that your thoughts and beliefs are always shaping your experiences. When you persist in the belief that your desire is already fulfilled, you are exercising that faith, and the universe responds to that faith with the manifestation of your desire. In this way, persistence becomes your greatest ally in the process of manifestation. It is through persistence that your desires are brought into being. The more you persist in the assumption of the end result, the more the universe aligns itself with your belief. And as you continue to persist, you will see your desires materialize step by step until they are fully realized in your physical world. The power of persistence in belief is what turns your mental images into physical reality. The nature of belief and its role in shaping your life cannot be overstated. The belief you hold in your heart, regardless of external evidence, is the force that drives the manifestation of your desires. It is the bedrock upon which all manifestation stands, for without belief, nothing can be created. When you understand the depth of your belief, you realize that it is not merely a thought or idea you entertain for a moment. It is a powerful creative force. What you believe is what you experience, and what you assume to be true in your mind must in time become your reality. Belief is not just about hoping something will happen, nor is it simply about thinking positively. Belief is an unwavering certainty that what you desire is already yours, that the end result is already realized. You must live as if your desire has already been fulfilled, not as though it is coming to you someday in the future. This is the key. Your belief must be rooted in the assumption that your desire is already part of your present reality. The moment you believe it to be true, it begins to take shape in your life. The power of belief is evident in every aspect of life, though often we are unaware of how it operates. Our beliefs shape our experiences and determine the outcomes we see in our world. If you believe that you are worthy of success, you will find opportunities for success around you. If you believe that love is possible for you, you will find yourself attracting relationships that reflect that belief. On the other hand, if you believe that you are unworthy or incapable, that too will be reflected in your experience. Your beliefs create a self-fulfilling prophecy, shaping your reality in accordance with the thoughts and assumptions you hold about yourself and the world. To harness the full power of belief in the manifestation process, you must first realize that belief is not dependent on evidence. Too often, people wait for external circumstances to change before they allow themselves to believe. They look for signs. They wait for the world to show them that their desire is on its way, and they may lose faith when those signs do not appear immediately. However, belief operates in reverse. You do not need to see to believe. You must first believe, and then the external world will reflect that belief back to you. This is where the power of assumption comes into play. When you assume that your desire is already fulfilled, you are aligning yourself with the belief that it is already yours. You must assume it with all your being, not as a future event, but as a present reality. The assumption is not just a passing thought or hope. It is a state of mind that you live in consistently. The more you persist in this state of assumption, the more the universe begins to rearrange itself to reflect that belief. It is through the power of belief and assumption that the law of attraction operates. Your beliefs magnetize experiences to you that align with them. When you fully believe in your desire, you are no longer waiting for the world to validate your belief. You are living from the assumption that it is already so. And this is where the magic happens. The moment you live in the assumption of your desire being fulfilled, you begin to see the world through the lens of that belief. You begin to notice the opportunities, the people, and the circumstances that align with your desire. The universe, in its infinite intelligence, begins to respond to your inner world, and your outer world begins to shift to reflect your beliefs. This is the power of belief at work. A key component of belief is that it must be persistent. You cannot believe one moment and doubt the next. Your belief must be unwavering, even in the face of contrary evidence. This is the challenge many face when attempting to manifest their desires. The outer world may present circumstances that contradict your belief, and in those moments, it is essential to persist. Doubt is the enemy of manifestation, for it weakens the power of your belief. To see your desire materialize, you must persist in the belief that it is already yours, regardless of what is happening around you. The more you persist in your belief, the stronger it becomes. The stronger your belief becomes, the more power it has to shape your reality. This is why it is crucial to remain steadfast in your belief, especially when you cannot see the desired outcome yet. The world outside you is a reflection of your inner state. When your belief is strong and persistent, the outer world must eventually conform to it. Belief also requires you to detach from the need to control the how and the when of your manifestation. This is where many people get caught up. They believe in their desire, but they also want to control how it will come to them. They get bogged down in trying to figure out the steps, or they become anxious about the timeline. But this only creates resistance. True belief is about surrendering the need for control and trusting that the universe knows how to deliver your desires. When you believe without concern for how it will happen, you open the door for the universe to bring your desire to you in ways you could never have imagined. In practice, living in the belief of your desire being fulfilled means embracing the feeling of the wish fulfilled. It is not enough to merely think, "I believe it will happen." You must feel as if it has already happened. This is where many people falter. They may think the right thoughts, but they fail to fully embrace the feeling that their desire is already theirs. The feeling is the key, for it is the feeling that powers the belief and strengthens it. When you feel the joy, the relief, the satisfaction of having what you desire, you are aligning yourself fully with that belief. And this is when manifestation becomes inevitable. Belief is not just a passive state. It is an active, dynamic force that shapes your reality. When you truly believe that your desire is already fulfilled, you are not merely waiting for it to show up. You are living as though it is already here, and as you live in that belief, the external world must rearrange itself to reflect it. The law of assumption works because it taps into this power of belief. When you believe, you create. And when you persist in that belief, the creation becomes your reality. In every aspect of life, belief governs what we experience. Our beliefs shape our thoughts, our actions, and ultimately our outcomes. When you consciously choose to believe in the fulfillment of your desires, you take control of your reality. The world around you will begin to reflect that belief, and your desires will manifest in due time. The power of belief is the most fundamental force behind manifestation. When you understand how to direct it, there is no limit to what you can create in your life. To understand the nature of the world you create, you must first recognize that what you perceive as reality is nothing more than a reflection of your inner state. The outer world mirrors the assumptions, beliefs, and feelings that you hold within. This fundamental truth allows you to realize the incredible power you possess over your life and your circumstances. The reality you experience is shaped by your inner thoughts, beliefs, and assumptions. When you change your inner world, the outer world must follow suit. The more you begin to understand this, the more empowered you become to shape your reality according to your desires. The idea that the external world reflects your internal state is not a new concept. It has been shared and explored by many spiritual and philosophical teachings. However, the true power lies in recognizing that you have the ability to consciously influence and shift your internal state at will. When you recognize this, you begin to realize that nothing in your world is fixed or predetermined. Every situation, every person, every circumstance in your life is simply a reflection of your internal assumptions. This gives you the freedom to choose what you want to experience by changing how you think, how you feel, and what you assume to be true. The first step in recognizing the power of your inner state is to acknowledge the role of assumptions. Assumptions are not simply idle thoughts. They are the lenses through which you view the world. They are the beliefs you hold about yourself, others, and the world at large. These assumptions create your perception of reality, and in turn, they shape the experiences you encounter. For example, if you assume that people are unfriendly, you will attract experiences and encounters that reflect that belief. On the other hand, if you assume that you are worthy of love and success, you will find yourself attracting those experiences as well. The power lies in the assumption, the belief you hold as true. Once you realize the power of assumptions, you begin to see that changing your assumptions can directly change your reality. If you wish to experience a specific person in your life, for instance, you must assume that they already exist in your reality. You must assume that your relationship with them is already real, regardless of the external evidence. This assumption is the foundation upon which your new reality is built. If you want to manifest a loving, fulfilling relationship with someone, you must hold the assumption that they are already in your life and that the relationship is already thriving. You must feel and act as though it has already happened, and this belief will become the seed from which your new reality grows. The shift from doubt to assumption can be challenging, particularly when the external world seems to contradict your desires. It is easy to look at the world around you and believe that things will never change. But this is where the true power of assumption lies. It allows you to look beyond the present circumstances and focus solely on the end result. When you assume that your desires are already fulfilled, you begin to align your internal state with that reality. The external world, though it may seem slow to catch up, must eventually conform to the assumptions you hold within. The more steadfast you are in maintaining these assumptions, the more quickly the external world will change to reflect them. One of the most important aspects of this process is the ability to remain detached from the how and when of your manifestation. Too often people become overly focused on the details of how their desires will come to pass, and this creates resistance. The key to shifting your reality is to trust in the assumption itself and release any attachment to the how. You do not need to know how it will happen, nor do you need to know when it will happen. The moment you assume that your desire is already fulfilled, the universe begins to arrange the circumstances to make it so. Trusting in the process and maintaining faith in the assumption is crucial for manifestation to occur smoothly. This detachment from the how and when also helps you to maintain a sense of inner peace. When you are not constantly looking for signs or seeking proof of your manifestation, you allow the universe to work in its own time and in its own way. The more you surrender the need for control, the more quickly the manifestation process will unfold. It is your belief in the end result, not your attempts to control the process, that brings your desires into being. In addition to focusing on the assumption of the end result, it is important to cultivate a sense of gratitude for what you are manifesting, even before it arrives in your physical reality. Gratitude is a powerful force that amplifies the energy of your desires. When you express gratitude for the manifestation, as if it has already occurred, you align yourself with the vibration of the desire. This helps to accelerate the manifestation process, as gratitude sends out a signal to the universe that you are already in alignment with what you desire. The process of assuming the end result and allowing the external world to reflect that assumption is not limited to large, dramatic manifestations. It applies to every aspect of your life. Whether you are manifesting a specific person, a career change, or financial abundance, the same principle applies. Your assumptions about your desires must be rooted in the belief that they are already fulfilled. When you make this shift in consciousness, you begin to see the world around you transform. The people, the opportunities, and the experiences that align with your assumption will begin to appear, often in ways you did not expect. As you practice living from the assumption of the end result, you will notice that your confidence and faith in the process grow stronger. Each manifestation, no matter how big or small, will reinforce the truth that your inner state creates your outer reality. Over time, you will begin to trust more fully in the power of your assumptions, and you will see the world around you conforming more and more to your desires. The power of assumption is the most reliable tool for creating your reality, for it allows you to bypass the limitations of the physical world and tap directly into the realm of infinite possibility. When you consistently live in the assumption that your desires are already fulfilled, the universe must bring them to you in ways that are beyond your comprehension. The external world is not the source of your desires, it is the mirror that reflects your internal state. By changing the way you think, feel, and assume, you can change the very fabric of your reality. Your life and all the experiences within it are a reflection of what you believe and assume to be true. The more you align your assumptions with the fulfillment of your desires, the more your reality will align with them as well. The concept of living from the end is one of the most powerful tools at your disposal when it comes to manifesting your desires. Living from the end means adopting the mindset and feeling of already having what you want, regardless of your current circumstances. Instead of focusing on the gap between where you are now and where you want to be, you must shift your consciousness to the feeling of your desire already fulfilled. The moment you do this, you align your inner world with your outer world, and the manifestation process begins to unfold naturally. Most people approach their desires from a place of longing or wanting, constantly striving to attain what they believe is missing in their lives. They view their desires as something outside of themselves, something they must chase or achieve. This mindset, however, places the focus on the lack of what you want, which only perpetuates the feeling of not having it. When you live from the end, you do not approach your desires from a place of need or lack. Instead, you assume that your desire is already part of your reality and live as though it has already been fulfilled. Living from the end involves creating a mental image of the end result that you desire, and then stepping into the feeling of that result as if it is happening right now. This requires you to embody the state of having what you want without waiting for any external evidence to support your belief. When you mentally and emotionally embrace the feeling of the end result, you are actively aligning your consciousness with the reality you wish to experience. The more you practice this, the more powerful and natural it becomes, and the quicker the outer world begins to reflect your inner state. For example, imagine that you desire to manifest a specific person into your life. Instead of focusing on the absence of this person or the ways in which they are not yet in your life, you must shift your focus to the end result, living as though they are already present and actively involved with you. You must embody the feeling of being with this person, experiencing the love, joy, and connection as if it is happening right now. When you live from this state of fulfillment, you cease to feel the gap between what you want and what you currently have. You become the living embodiment of your desire, and the world must conform to this new internal state. This shift in consciousness is not something that requires years of practice. It is something that can be adopted in an instant. The moment you choose to live from the end, you begin to change the way you experience the world. Your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions will all align with the end result, and the physical world will eventually reflect this new alignment. The key is to not be swayed by appearances or by the current circumstance. The outer world will always reflect your internal state, and when you live from the end, your inner world will begin to match the outer world you wish to create. Living from the end requires a level of trust and faith in the process. It is easy to be swayed by doubts and fears when you cannot see immediate evidence of your desire coming to fruition. However, this is where the true power of living from the end lies. It is the ability to persist in the assumption that your desire is already fulfilled, regardless of the current circumstances. When you remain faithful to your assumption and live in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you are engaging in the law of assumption, which guarantees that your desire will manifest in due time. One of the most common obstacles to living from the end is the temptation to focus on the how and the when. People often get caught up in trying to figure out how their desire will come to pass or when it will show up in their lives. This only leads to frustration and resistance because the how and when are not your concern. Your job is simply to assume that the end result is already yours and to live as though it is true. The universe will take care of the rest, arranging the circumstances and events to bring your desire into your reality. Trust in the process and release the need for control. The more you let go of the how and when, the quicker and more effortlessly your manifestation will unfold. Living from the end also involves embracing the feeling of already having what you desire. Feel the emotions of your manifestation as though they are happening right now. Whether it is the joy of being with your specific person, the satisfaction of achieving your career goals, or the peace of financial abundance, immerse yourself in the emotions associated with the end result. The feeling is the most important aspect of manifestation because it is the vibration you are sending out to the universe. The stronger and more vivid the feeling, the more magnetic your desire becomes, and the faster it will come to you. In addition to the emotional feeling, living from the end also requires a shift in your thoughts and actions. When you live from the end, your thoughts, beliefs, and behaviors must reflect the reality you are creating. If you want to manifest a loving relationship, for example, you cannot continue to think about past heartbreaks or focus on the idea that love is something you have not yet found. Instead, you must begin thinking and acting as if you are already in the loving relationship you desire. This may mean changing the way you speak about love, the way you interact with others, and the way you see yourself. Your thoughts and actions must be congruent with the assumption that your desire is already fulfilled. Living from the end is also about letting go of resistance. Resistance occurs when you doubt that your desire is possible or when you feel that it is too far out of reach. This resistance blocks the flow of manifestation and prevents your desires from coming to fruition. To live from the end, you must release all resistance and fully embrace the belief that your desire is already yours. When you let go of resistance, you create space for your desires to manifest effortlessly. It is important to note that living from the end is not about ignoring the present moment or pretending that current circumstances do not exist. It is about choosing to focus on the end result and aligning your thoughts and feelings with that reality. It is a mental and emotional practice that helps you create a new internal environment that attracts the reality you wish to experience. The more you practice living from the end, the more natural it becomes. Eventually, your desire will no longer feel like something you are waiting for, but something you are already living. The end result will feel inevitable, and the universe will respond by bringing your desire into your reality. The power of living from the end lies in the fact that it aligns your inner world with your outer world. And when your inner world changes, the outer world must reflect that change. Your thoughts, beliefs, and assumptions create your reality, and when you live from the end, you are actively creating the life you desire. The importance of persistence in the manifestation process cannot be overstated. Many people begin their journey toward manifestation with great enthusiasm, convinced that they have understood the principles of creation. Yet as soon as they face challenges or do not see immediate results, they falter. This is where persistence plays its crucial role. Manifestation is not merely about thinking positive thoughts or holding a belief once in a while. It is about maintaining a consistent, unwavering assumption that your desire is already fulfilled, even in the face of opposing circumstances. Persistence is the key that ensures the materialization of your desires. When you first set your intention or make a desire known to the universe, it is natural to feel a sense of excitement and certainty. You imagine the end result and it seems within reach. However, as time passes and external circumstances do not align with your expectations, doubt begins to creep in. You may begin to question whether your assumption is strong enough or whether you are doing something wrong. The world may show you evidence that contradicts your desire, and in these moments, many people give up, thinking that the manifestation is not coming or that they are not deserving of it. This is the test of persistence. Persistence in manifestation is the unwavering commitment to your assumption, regardless of what is happening in the outer world. It requires you to remain faithful to the belief that your desire is already fulfilled, even when everything around you suggests otherwise. The external world will always reflect your inner state, so it is essential that you do not allow the external to sway you from your assumption. The only thing that matters is the state of your belief, and this must remain unchanged no matter what. The law of assumption operates on the principle that what you assume to be true becomes true for you. This assumption is the foundation upon which your desires are built, but for the assumption to fully take root and manifest in your life, you must persist in holding it. The assumption is not a fleeting thought or an occasional wish. It is a constant state of mind, an ongoing belief that the end result is already yours. This is where persistence comes in. The more consistently you live in this assumption, the more quickly the world around you must shift to reflect it. Persistence also means not being discouraged by the absence of immediate evidence. Too many people become disheartened when they do not see instant results, and they abandon their assumptions prematurely. Manifestation is not an instantaneous process. It is an unfolding process that requires time for the energy to shift and for the universe to rearrange itself in response to your belief. The key is to stay faithful to the assumption that your desire is already fulfilled, no matter how long it takes for it to appear in the physical realm. One of the most powerful aspects of persistence is that it helps you build resilience in your belief system. The more you persist in the face of doubt, the stronger your faith becomes. Each time you encounter evidence that contradicts your assumption, and each time you persist in holding your belief regardless, you are reinforcing the power of your assumption. This repeated act of persistence strengthens your internal conviction, and over time, the manifestation becomes inevitable. The more resilient you are in holding your assumption, the more powerful it becomes, and the quicker it begins to take shape in your reality. It is also important to recognize that persistence is not the same as forcing or striving. Many people misunderstand persistence and think that it requires a great deal of effort, work, or struggle. However, persistence in manifestation is simply the act of maintaining your assumption in a relaxed and trusting state. It is about remaining in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, without forcing or controlling the process. Persistence is a quiet, steady commitment to the belief that your desire is already a fact. When you persist in this belief, you are naturally drawn toward actions and decisions that align with it, and the world responds in kind. You must also learn to detach from the timing of your manifestation. One of the most common reasons people lose their persistence is impatience. They want their desires to manifest quickly, and when they do not see results immediately, they start to doubt the process. But the universe does not operate on your timeline. The process of manifestation requires time to align the circumstances and the people involved. Your persistence must be rooted in faith that in time everything will come together. The moment you release the need for immediate results, you free yourself from the anxiety and impatience that block the flow of your desires. Another important aspect of persistence is understanding that it does not require constant mental effort. While the assumption of the end result must remain fixed in your mind, you do not need to constantly think about your desire in an obsessive or frantic way. Persistence in manifestation is not about thinking about the desire every waking moment. It is about consistently returning to the feeling of the wish fulfilled whenever doubt arises. If doubt or contrary evidence arises, gently redirect your focus to the assumption that your desire is already realized. The more you practice this, the easier it becomes to remain in the state of assumption and feel no doubt about the outcome. Persistence is also deeply tied to the idea of inner conviction. When you persist in holding your assumption, you are building a deep inner conviction that what you desire is already yours. This conviction is not based on external circumstances. It is based on your inner knowing. You begin to feel the truth of your assumption so strongly that it becomes impossible to entertain any other possibility. This conviction is what powers the manifestation process. The more you persist in maintaining this inner conviction, the more solid your desired reality becomes in the outer world. At times, the manifestation process may seem slow and doubts may arise. This is when the power of persistence truly comes into play. When faced with these moments, remind yourself that you are in control of your experience. The outer world is merely a reflection of your inner state. And the more you persist in your assumption, the more quickly the outer world will shift to match your inner belief. Every moment you hold to your assumption strengthens the energy of your desire and brings it one step closer to manifesting in your reality. Persistence is not about forcing or making things happen. It is about consistently and unwaveringly aligning your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs with your desired end result. By doing so, you are ensuring that the energy flows in the direction of your desire, and the outer world must eventually conform to your inner world. The key to manifestation is not about effort, it is about trust, belief, and persistent faith in your assumption. When you remain steadfast in your belief, you open the doors for your desires to manifest effortlessly and with ease. One of the most profound realizations you can come to in your journey toward manifesting your desires is understanding the power of your own imagination. Imagination is not merely a fleeting mental exercise or a fanciful escape. It is the creative force behind all manifestations. Your imagination holds the key to unlocking your desires and shaping your reality. It is the tool through which you create the life you wish to live. Imagination is the power that allows you to experience your desires before they materialize in the physical world. It is the bridge between your inner state of mind and your external circumstances. When you use your imagination to vividly imagine and feel your desired outcome, you are not only mentally visualizing it, but energetically aligning yourself with that reality. The more you engage in this practice, the more your inner world begins to reflect the external world you wish to create. The essence of manifestation is rooted in your ability to imagine the end result as already accomplished. It is not about imagining the steps you need to take to get there or focusing on the details of the process. Rather, it is about stepping into the feeling of your wish fulfilled and seeing it as if it is happening in the present moment. You must create a mental image of the end result and then immerse yourself in the feelings associated with it. Feel the emotions of success, love, joy, or peace as if they are happening now, not as something you are waiting to experience. This state of imagination allows you to align with the energy of your desire, which in turn draws it closer to you. To truly understand the power of imagination, you must also recognize that it operates beyond the limitations of time and space. Your imagination can transcend the physical world and connect you directly to the realm of infinite possibility. When you imagine something, you are not bound by the constraints of the present moment. You can travel forward in time and experience your desired reality as if it is happening right now. This ability to transcend time is what makes imagination so powerful. It allows you to live in the end result before it even manifests physically. By doing so, you send out a clear and undeniable signal to the universe that this desired reality is already yours. The key to using your imagination effectively lies in the depth of your belief and the emotional intensity you bring to the experience. The more real and vivid your imagination feels, the more powerful the energy behind it. If you imagine something with detachment or indifference, it will have little to no impact on your reality. However, if you imagine with passion, conviction, and a sense of fulfillment, you align yourself with the emotional frequency of the outcome. Your imagination must be filled with the same energy and feeling you would experience if your desire were already realized. This emotional intensity is what activates the law of attraction, drawing your desires to you and helping them to manifest in your physical reality. In practice, using your imagination is simple but requires consistency. First, you must create a clear mental picture of the end result. For example, if you desire to manifest a specific person into your life, you must begin by imagining yourself already in the relationship with them. See the two of you together, engaging in activities you would enjoy, communicating, laughing, and feeling the connection that you desire. Imagine the joy, the comfort, and the love you would experience in this relationship. Allow these feelings to flood your consciousness and make them as real as possible. Let the emotions you experience in your imagination be just as intense as if it were happening right now. While you are doing this, you must also believe that this imagined scenario is not a fantasy, but a glimpse into your future reality. When you imagine, you are not just daydreaming or wishing, you are affirming the truth of your desire. This belief in the truth of your imagination is what solidifies the image in your subconscious mind and sends out the signal that you are living in the state of fulfillment. The more you practice this, the more your subconscious mind will begin to accept the image as real, and it will align your external circumstances to match the internal vision you have created. The power of imagination is also deeply connected to your sense of self-worth. If you do not believe that you deserve the desires you are imagining, it will be difficult for them to manifest. This is why it is essential to align your imagination with the belief that you are worthy of your desires. When you imagine yourself already in the possession of what you desire, you are essentially telling yourself that you are deserving of it. Your imagination reinforces the idea that you are worthy of the life you wish to create, and this belief will support the manifestation process. Furthermore, imagination is not just a mental exercise, it must also be accompanied by a sense of inner knowing. The more you imagine your desires, the more you must feel certain that they are already yours. This inner knowing is the feeling that comes from truly accepting your desired outcome as fact. It is the confidence that arises when you imagine something so vividly and so convincingly that there is no room for doubt. This inner knowing is the fuel that drives the manifestation process. When you are certain that your desire is already fulfilled in your imagination, you become a magnet for that desire in the physical world. The practice of imagination is also incredibly effective when you apply it to any area of your life, whether it be personal relationships, career goals, financial abundance, or health. By consistently using your imagination to create a vivid and emotionally charged image of your desired outcome, you are conditioning your mind to focus solely on the end result. This focus creates a powerful energy that attracts the corresponding circumstances, people, and opportunities to you. However, it is important to remember that the power of imagination is not in the how or the when of your desire. Your role is not to figure out how your desire will manifest or when it will happen. Your only job is to imagine the end result and to live in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. The universe will take care of the rest. The process of manifestation is not something you need to control. It is something you need to allow. When you surrender to the process and trust that your imagination is guiding you toward the fulfillment of your desires, the manifestation will unfold effortlessly. Imagination is the tool through which all creation takes place. Every desire, every goal, and every dream you have is already within you, waiting to be brought into physical form. By harnessing the power of your imagination and living in the end result, you are tapping into the universal creative energy that shapes your world. The more you practice using your imagination in this way, the more quickly and easily your desires will manifest. Your imagination is the gateway to creating the life you have always dreamed of, and it is available to you at all times. Through the power of imagination, you can bring your desires to life and experience the world exactly as you wish to see it. In the journey of manifestation, the ultimate truth is that everything you desire is already within you, waiting to be brought to life. The power lies within your imagination, your assumptions, your persistence, and your ability to live from the end result. Every thought, feeling, and belief you hold shapes your reality, and by mastering the art of assumption, you align yourself with the life you wish to create. As you continue to harness the power of your imagination and live in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you begin to see that your desires are not distant or unattainable, but already yours. Through the persistent practice of living from the end, imagining your desires as already realized, and trusting in the process, you unlock the flow of manifestation, bringing your inner world into harmony with the outer world. The key to manifesting your specific desires lies in your unwavering belief in their fulfillment. This belief must be so deep and so firm that no external evidence can shake it. Through persistence, imagination, and the understanding of the power of your inner state, you begin to see the magic of creation unfolding around you. Your desires, no longer distant dreams, are revealed as the reality you have long since created in your mind. This process is not just about getting what you want. It is about understanding the incredible power you hold within you to shape your life. You are not at the mercy of external circumstances. You are the creator of your own reality. And with each step you take toward living from the end result, you move closer to the life you have always desired. The power to manifest is always in your hands. All that is required is your belief, your imagination, your persistence, and the courage to live as though your dreams have already come true.